All right, now joining us on Tennis Channel Inside In. Delighted to always talk to members of the coaching community. This is a pretty prominent one. He's worked in pro coaching for 17 years, working with players of high regard such as Thomas Enquist, Justine Henin, and Marat Safin. But he's best known for his partnership with Daniil Medvedev, which has stretched 7 years and counting now, culminated in a Grand Slam title, a #1 ranking, and he was honored as the Coach of the Year in 2019. By his peers. Gilles Cervara, welcome to the show. Excited to talk tennis with you.
Yeah, me too, Mitch. Thanks to invite me, and I'm very, very happy to be there. And I wish to have a great moment with you today.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you. I think I want to start with this though, because it's late October, and you hear the players talk about feeling the exhaustion, the burnout. Do the coaches feel that too? As a coach, when you get to this time of year, do you feel the grind of a long season?
Yeah, well, I was saying that before coming to this talk, I was reading an article of a player who was saying that the calendar is just too long, too many tournaments, and especially the Masters 1000 on 2 weeks now makes the year tougher than it was. And in one way, that's true. That from my position, my perspective, the Masters 1000 on 2 weeks makes the year longer and longer, and especially next year, we know that there is 2 more on 2 weeks, Canada and Cincinnati. So that's not easy. Yeah.
It's going to be a tough, adjustment to make. The players are good at making these adjustments, but we know how hard and grueling, not just physically, but mentally. But before we get to some of your story, I did want to ask you too, coming off the heels as we record this of Daniil competing in the six Kings Slam. What was that experience like? I know you were able to go. It was a spectacle. It was well produced. We were talking video production wise. It was tough to beat, but how was your experience there at the Six Kings Slam?
Well, it was a very good experience, especially to, when you play those kind of exhibition tournament, and with let's say, just 6 players and the best among the best tournament players, you feel something special. You feel that it's different things. And also in those kind of countries, like new country for tennis, it makes everything huge. You feel that people are waiting for you. All the organization is turned to make the thing the best as possible. So for me, it was great experience. Unless instead of the result, of course, because Daniil lost against tough match against Yannick, but at the same time, Yannick is the best player in the world, and that's sport.
It really is. He goes on to win the tournament. He's playing exceptionally well, and much to get to in this interview. But I wanted to start with kind of your origin story. How did you get hooked? I know it's the French tennis roots are so strong. The game is so popular there. But your individual story, and before you got into this high profile position, how did you get hooked on the sport and really fall in love with the game of tennis?
Well, about my story and tennis, it started, I think I started tennis at 15 because of one of my best friends at school. He was number 2 in France of his age. And he was, we were in the same school, same class. And when he was going to his tennis practice, I was going with him because we planned to spend the weekend together, the night like friends, And so I was just watching his practices, and I have no idea about tennis. I didn't want to play tennis, and one day I started to try because my mother wanted for me to do some sports and to not stay in front of TV. So I started many other sports before tennis, and I didn't like them. And when I started tennis for the first time, the first shots, I felt something special with probably every everyone who hit a ball feels something special between the racket and the ball. And it happens for me, and it started like this for me. And from that moment, from that time, I was 15, something like this. I was just playing because I liked it. And I remember this, the mother of my friend asked me, told me that I'm going to start a competition one day. And I said, no way, never. I won't make any tournament in my life. I don't want to compete. And finally, after a few months, I understood that I will do some tournaments. And now today I can realize that I love competition. Yeah.
That's really impressive and crazy to hear, because you realize, right, 15 is super late to start a sport. Like that's so much later than most people. And the fact that you got to where you are, 15, I mean, that's really, really impressive, Jill, because most players, you hear their origin stories, or people that play any sport, it's when they're much younger. So 15 is kind of staggering and puts you kind of in a unique situation, I would say.
Yes, exactly. And I have a unique. Probably I'm not the only one to have a unique story like this. But of course, to become professional, because that was my dream. I didn't realize that it was impossible. In France, everybody made me feel that it was impossible. That's why I left France at 17. And because in my head, in my feeling, it was okay. If I want to do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do everything I can to make it. I didn't realize that it was the start was a bit late. It's like if you have a race to do, like a cycling race, and you start the race 3 hours after the start. It would be tough to arrive on time or before the others. But during this journey, during my story, I think I discovered so many things about practice, about mental thing, about psychology, about physical things, preparation, and it helped me to become the coach I am today.
Yeah, definitely laid the groundwork for the coaching tendencies that you built. And I wanted to ask you in a follow up to that, when was the first time that you were around? Because I mentioned those players at the top, getting to work with, getting to be hitting partners with. When was the first time you were around high-level professional players, and what was that experience like?
Well, first of all, when I was 15, 16, I was going to Monte Carlo tournament, and I was staying from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening to watch practices. I was like I was so inspired and by the professional. So I really like tennis, to watch them practicing, to watch them competing, make competition. And then after my story, at let's say around 20 years old or 21, I think in my club, I had chance to. The first time is when I left to US. I was 17, 18, and I had chance because I was playing quite well already to practice with some professional. They were, like the top juniors or some top 100 players. I had chance to hit the ball with them sometimes because I showed good energy and I had good level when I was practicing. So it helped me to have these chances.
Yeah. It's impressive. It's also something I heard recently from a coach that got his foot in the door. Being a hitting partner, same thing. Hits a good ball, good energy, and then it goes from there. So it's funny how that can be the first step towards really, accomplishing great things. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but the partnership with Daniil started in September of 2017. This was before he had become the player that he is. He had a lot of potential, but was raw in a lot of areas. What was the genesis of that relationship? How did the partnership start? And ultimately, when did you realize that this could be a long-term project?
Well, about the long-term project, I had absolutely no idea about this. But our relationships started in, let's say, in 2016. So he came in the place I co-founded in south of France. I was the co-founder and co-manager of a small academy where Daniil came in 2014. So for the first 2 years, I was not his coach because he was looking for a higher level coach, because I had no palmarès to say, okay, I know the high level. But 2 years later, I had chance to travel with him because his coach couldn't travel with him at that time. And I think we had a good connection, as a person, and good connection in the work on court. The way I think I was able to coach people, and because of his personality, it made our connection good connection. And then step by step, I traveled more with him in 2016, then 2017, and at the end of 2017, he was ready to quit the place because with the other coaches was not good things. But he asked me first if I wanted to become his coach, and that's how it started at that time, 2017.
Yeah, and at that time, just to paint the picture for people that maybe came along the journey later, you're talking 65th ranking or so. Just to get the top 30 would have been considered a reach by many, but now we're looking at a player that got to number one, won a Grand Slam. And I've asked this to other coaches too, Jill, but the fact that it's a compatibility test, there's so much about teaching the game, but also is there chemistry, as you said, a good relationship? I'm sure it was those car rides from tournament to tournament, spending time on the road, just getting to know the person that let you know that this could be a relationship that could blossom.
Yeah, this part, you mean this part of coaching, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, that's something. Of course, it's necessary to know about tennis. It's necessary to know about the game, about tactic, about technique. Let's put this on one side. And the other part that I realized step by step in my career was the human part.
Yeah.
The way you're able to talk to someone, the way you're able to listen to someone, the way you're able to create and to find the best part of everyone, to dig inside the person and to make this happen, to help him to find the resources and to improve as a person is I think is an important key in our job.
Yeah, we've made that joke before. It's almost like when you start out dating someone, it's like you got to understand if the compatibility is there, how they respond to certain things. But at that point, too, I mean, that was part of it. You're making that long-term commitment. And Jill, going into like the pro tour life, this is your first go of it. We talked at the beginning, there's so many tournaments. The schedule's brutal. How do you stay positive, and how do you kind of preach that positivity to stay competitive, stay motivated, and stay hungry for a player that is playing tennis all year round?
Well, first of all, he has to start from the player. I mean, I can't have the desire for the players. It's the player's own determination, own goals in life, in tennis, that I used, in fact, as a coach. Me, I have a high determination to succeed, to make performance, and to improve every day as a person, as a coach. And I think I bring this to Daniil and to the person I coach or the person with me. But if I have this, if it's my mindset, if I live with this energy every day, but the player doesn't have this inside himself, I can try. Of course, I can help him to dig and to find it.
Right.
But if he doesn't have inside himself, then I cannot make magical things,
Yeah, for sure. Talking more with Gilles Cervara on Tennis Channel Inside In, Daniil Medvedev's coach, 2019 Coach of the Year, joining us for a chat on the podcast here. That was the year, right? 2019 was when it all came together. That summer hard court run was some of the best and most inspired tennis we've seen from any ATP player in recent memory. So before we got to DC, Canada, the Cincinnati, and then the US Open, I want to ask you what came together. What did you notice that started clicking before that run? It maybe told you this could be a special breakthrough between coach and player.
Well, before this summer, this crazy summer, I remember one tournament was Wimbledon. Wimbledon was very, was a bad memory because bad memory and at the same time good one now, but because he lost against Goffin in the fourth round, no, in the third round, and he had the break in the fifth set. And he lost the match because David played amazing at the end, but he couldn't finish. Then he couldn't finish, and I remember I broke my phone after the match, and I threw the phone in the fence, and I almost fought with a guy because he received the broken phone on his leg. And then I remember from the court 2 to the locker, I was not in bad I was in bad energy, bad feeling. And I remember that I was walking and I was saying to myself, okay, now I need to get calm, to talk to Daniil, and to have the good face and the good energy and the good attitude, to not show him a crazy guy, And so I remember that after this match, like always, I was trying to analyze everything in details, to find the best best thing to work and to improve. And Daniil was in the same mood, so that's why amazing summer happened after it.
Yeah, he bought in. He played well downhill, especially, and that part too. I'm glad there were no issues with the phone and throwing it. That's good. We put that on the back burner. But in terms of feedback from a player, that seems like it's a very crucial part of you as a coach, right? You mentioned it with the energy, but even after losses, it's got to be so important, right, to get feedback from a player. Okay, this is maybe what went wrong. This is how we can fix it together.
Yes, true. With Daniil, it's quite simple, I would say, because after all these years, what I can say about him, and I think it can be very important for coaches, but especially for players to hear this. It's, Daniil was kind of easy, I would say, because his feedback, or the way he analyzed matches, are very, very simple, very basic. Sometimes too much, I would say. I could do more things, but it's quite simple. And one thing important, I felt that after loses, he was not the kind of players that would destroy the work, to say, it's your fault, it's his fault, it's the fault of this. He was like, okay, it's because of this in the game, and it's also my fault because I didn't make it. So it was really simple to continue working. I never felt that it was changing all the time. And because it was not changing all the time, it makes the work, the continuity of the work, and was very, very important.
Yeah, he didn't overstress on losses. He wasn't going to destroy progress based on one match, and that's huge, because everyone can say that that's what they want to do, but until you can actually practice what you preach. Well, I guess on that note, and it sounds like that might be one of the things, Gilles, but what's something you see being so close to the situation that the people on the outside, that they get wrong about what they're saying, how they're analyzing Daniil Medvedev and how he plays? Because you're right there, and I know there's perception is not reality in a lot of ways. So what's something the outside gets wrong about the player or the person?
What do you mean? If I understood well, it's what people think about Daniil's game.
Yeah,
From
his
outside.
game, his approach. I know it's an open-ended question, but something that there's a misconception out there. What would that be if you had to kind of summarize?
Well, from the start with Daniil, I realized that he was. He had different technique, different psychology, different behavior. And I would say that I could be the same also as a person. And I felt that this guy needed a lot of freedom. And what I could feel in France, especially, it's coaches most of the time, or the mentality of coaches in my country, I would say, it's to try to control the player, to make the player play or think or do exactly how the coach thinks.
Yeah.
And the thing is, especially because as a person, if I was if I would have been with people like this, I would say, but no, I do what I want. I think how I want to think. You won't tell me unless I trust you, unless you inspire me. And I felt that Daniil was, that kind of player, and that I couldn't say, okay, Daniil, you do this like I want. It was lost to do like this. So because I was able to listen to him, to be sensitive as a person, I didn't coach him like this. That's all.
Right. No, that's real good insight, because you adjusted your coaching style, which a lot of coaches won't, because he's such in a lot of ways, unicorn or whatever. He's a unique individual in how he plays the game. A lot of coaches would be like, no, you're doing it wrong. And there's players, there's high profile. I mean, Nick Kyrgios said, I didn't think he had this kind of potential because he looks so different than everybody else. So that's very good insight. I was always struck too. There's nicknames for everything. But the mad scientist one, I think, makes sense, because it sounds like you're saying the same thing. He is a guy that looks for solutions. He'll problem solve. He'll change his strategy. Wimbledon this year against Yannick was a great example of that, where if something isn't working with plan A, he can go to a plan B. And I don't think a lot of players necessarily have that capability.
Yeah, that's true. And but Yannick and Alcaraz and Carlos make the challenge very high now.
Yeah, they certainly do. You kind of mentioned something else too. I did want to touch on as the coaching side of things, since I get the chance to ask you this. But throughout a tournament, throughout a run, you go match to match. But what's your scouting and what's your advanced preparation like? What's the workload like for you? Okay, Daniil wins maybe a match. He's got 2 days. You just go right into scouting and preparation mode.
Yeah, so many things can be done. For me, I like to, for example, right now, I would say that right now, between matches, between tournaments, I try to do a lot of work watching videos of Sinner, Alcaraz, Daniil's match also, of course, Daniil's matches in the past. I try to have the more information I can have, and to build a plan, to build work, to think about the different things we can improve in every part of his game. Tennis, physical, mental, cognitive, so many things. Yeah.
It's impressive. It's impressive to hear that that's the long-term plan too, that you are. And it makes sense, right? The people that get to the top of the sport, everyone's got to figure out a way to get there and try to make things different. Well, I know your relationship too. This is another thing that from the outside, we don't know the full story. And I'm just imagining, we see, I would think it's fair to say, some back and forth, some give and take. You guys will have a conversation during matches. It seems like in talking to you, Gilles, that that's part of the game, and you understand that it's high stakes, nothing personal. That's just your relationship.
Yeah. About that part, first of all, this part changed all around the years. You feel that Daniil is improved, is getting more mature, so he's able to control also and to manage what happened inside himself. It's like, I would say, it's like, let's say like this, it's like the little kid or the little devils inside himself who gets crazy in different situations. And these things inside himself, when he can get crazy on court, I never felt that it was against me. And I think it's important for him, it was important for him to feel also that it was not against me. Like this, I could behave and react in the proper way to on one side let this part of himself, let's say, stay crazy, and at the same time to talk to the player and to the adults. Of course, he's smart enough to understand that the bad part has to improve and to stop. But like this, I could talk to the right person and not being touched. Like if my kid, my children inside myself was talking to his children inside himself, would have been the wrong connection.
I understand, and I get that there's going to be back and forth. There's not anything easy about going for the goals that you guys are trying to accomplish. So I understand, and the maturity side is real too. I think everybody grows and everybody gets more mature, so that's been good. And just one final note on this, I wanted to know your opinion. What do you think, and how do you have a positive or negative reaction to the coaching rules changing? Are you a fan or not as much of a fan of the on-court coaching rule change?
Well, right now I would say now for me it doesn't change anything because I would say that we don't talk more with Daniil on court. Let's imagine with another player who would talk more to have more solution. So I guess as a coach, I would been able to talk more, to give him more things, more strategy, more resources. But in one way, sometimes it helps. Sometimes as a coach, you can say also stupid things, who's not the good things. So I would say that stupid answer. I would say that I'm not for it and I'm not against it. Let's say like
that's
this.
Indifferent. Yeah. Indifferent. And you said that I can think of a few players that maybe would be talked to more, maybe a few players that Daniil's played, but we can kind of leave it there. Couple more things here with Gilles Cervara on Tennis Channel Inside In, talking to 2019 Coach of the Year for Daniil Medvedev. And in 2021, U.S. Open champ, the pressure of that run, that match where he went through everybody and beats Novak Djokovic, who was going for the calendar slam. That was one of the crowning achievements in an athletic career that we're going to see, but also takes a run to get there. You don't just end up in the finals. So, Jill, my question is, what was that fortnight like? What was that 2-week run like, culminating into a Grand Slam title? How were you feeling ramping up? What was the energy like going into the match? Talk to me a little bit about that U.S. Open run.
Yes. First of all, when you play a Grand Slam, and now when we start a Grand Slam, we think about the title, so the 2 weeks, and we just take day after day, match after match. So you stay in the present. You don't even think about in 2 days or the next 2 days, the next 3 days, the next week. You just stay here, do what you have to do, the best you can do it. So it helps, first of all, to stay in the present. Then I remember, especially the semi-final was. I remember Danny's agent. I was with Francisca at that time in the garden. Francisca was our psychologist, and the agent tried to talk to us, and it was impossible to talk to us before the match. We were so focused, so concentrated from the match. The energy was very very intense. He could feel it. And I remember, so after the match, it was a big satisfaction to be in final, because getting in final, it gives you this opportunity. It's one match, so one match, everything can happen on one match. Then the final, we prepared the final. Let's say we were so determined to win it. It was so, it was his day. And I remember during the match, the end of the match, the beginning of the match was, would Daniil been able to face to Novak? Because I remember in Australia the same year he was destroyed by Novak. So the first couple of games I was like, would he been able to do it, to handle it? So after a few games, I felt that he was in the right feeling, right game, right energy. And then it's the end of the match when he gets 2 breaks in the third set, and he lost the first one. And so when he served for the match for the second time, I was wow. I remember I was shaking. Everything in my body was shaking, and I tried to keep this, to handle this. And when you won the match, it's tough to describe. It's really it's like I seen my 20 years in tennis in one second.
Well, it's a special feeling, I'm sure. Yeah. What was that like? What was that feeling like when you first saw him after the match? After you get down, you're on court, he's got the trophy. What was? I mean, that it's got to be indescribable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's indescribable because for so many reasons you feel so the euphoria. You said this is the good word.
Yeah.
The word
Euphoria is perfect. Euphoria.
Yeah. Euphoria is just amazing. It's like if you're under drugs, I never took drug, and I swear it's like this.
Yeah.
So it's like if you drunk of the win, and I think you can fly. You can fly, and in the locker with Daniil, was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
And then you got the motivation, right, to keep going, because that's the part of tennis that's cool. It's also a little scary, right? Like you accomplish the goal, and it's getting the number one, but the career's not finished. So that's the next step, right? Just getting back on court, getting back in, and getting back to work.
Well, again, it depends people. I know that for me, I like to win. Of course, that's the feeling is amazing. To perform is amazing. But what I like the most, equal, it's to improve. So the improvement is every day in every little thing you can do. So it never ends, in fact. So it's like if maybe not the next day, but after 1 week, when you get back on court, you already want to do the best practice day of your life. So you're still working for this, so it never stops.
Yeah. The pride in, right, like you put forward a game plan, you put time in the practice courts, and you see Daniil or whoever your player is execute it. It's hard to say more than a Grand Slam title, but I get it, equal, because you're putting all those hours in, and to see it succeed is crazy. Well, Gilles, you've been very, very generous with your time. I had one last thing. I'm a fellow hockey fan myself. I want to know about the hats. I want to know about your love of the game. I know the origin story. Montreal Canadiens, 93, Patrick Waugh, that team. I actually had a coach that played for that team. So I want to know the story about your love of hockey, and then how you become a hat collector and maybe an ambassador for a lot of NHL teams.
For the next year, that's the plan I have. Yeah. I would continue to buy new cap, because I like to wear a hockey cap. And I decided to buy the small goalie's helmet. So next year, when I'm gonna be in US, I'm gonna go to the NHL store and to buy these small helmets for myself. So yes, I like. I don't know why. I like. It makes me remember my childhood, and it's a fun sport.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know the Panthers, who you support, they won the title this year, so you're pretty pumped about that. Also showing love to the Rangers, a bunch of teams. So it's good to see your love of other sports. And the very last thing, too, I know the other hobby you have is
Yeah.
boxing. So just not enough combat with Daniil. You got to get in the boxing ring to work out some steam, maybe.
Yeah, with Daniil, I don't talk about this. You know, I see sometimes he tries to hit someone in the team, and when he tries to me, I say, "Look, Daniil, don't do this. Don't do this with me."
I box. Oh wow, yeah, but it's awesome to hear. Well, Gilles, you've been very, very generous with your time. We appreciate you. We'll have to have you on again. Best of luck rest of this year. ATP finals on the horizon. Got the Paris Masters, but also into 2025 and beyond. The coaching process that's stood the test of time. Your relationship with Daniil Medvedev, well-deserved honor in 2019 as the Coach of the Year. So, Gilles Cervara, thanks for coming on Tennis Channel Inside, and it was a pleasure to get to talk
Mitch,
to you.
thank you very much to invite me, and wish it was a good one. So, yeah. So thanks for all your wishes, and I see you on tour all around the year.